are the intrinsic functions of English as a global language? What can we mention?
The author of the book who denied it is intrinsic factors.
I'm talking about intrinsic functions. Do you understand? I'm asking about intrinsic functions. What are they? Because you did mention something like intrinsic functions and intrinsic what? Factors. So there's no way you can separate intrinsic factors from intrinsic functions. Okay? What did you mention?
I mentioned easy to learn. I mentioned interactiveness, constructive, it is easy to translate the sentence using English.
Easy to learn. Those are factors, okay? Easy to learn. Why? So other languages are not easy to learn? Yeah, that's why we say those are fallacies. Those are. Now, what are the there's no way you can discuss intrinsic factors without discussing intrinsic functions. Now, what are the intrinsic functions? That's why I'm asking that. What are the intrinsic functions apart from the intrinsic factors? What are the intrinsic functions? Write that. Intrinsic functions. What are they? Intrinsic So when we talk about intrinsic functions, we say people who support English, okay, as a global language, say that English is a global lingua franca. English is a global lingua franca. This is one of the intrinsic functions. English is a global lingua franca. What do we mean by saying that English is a global lingua franca? By the way, what's a lingua franca?
The lingua franca is the language that is used to facilitate communication among the people of different languages.
Yeah, so we say English is the most widely spoken second language. Widely spoken second language. You know what you mean by second language. We said last time, okay? So we say English is the most widely spoken second language, acting as a common means of communication. As a common means of what? Communication. In brackets, lingua franca. For people from different countries who do not share a native language. So one of the intrinsic functions of English is that English is a global lingua franca. So English brings together different people coming from different linguistic backgrounds. So like I said yesterday, when a person comes from a certain linguistic background and meets another person from another linguistic background, that too can communicate, okay, using a language which is common to both, okay? In this case, we say English can act as a global lingua franca, lingua franca, in the sense that it can bring together people hailing from different linguistic backgrounds. So English is a global lingua franca. This is one of the intrinsic functions, okay? Another intrinsic function of English, like we said yesterday, is that it can facilitate international business and trade. Okay? English can facilitate international business and trade. This is also one of the intrinsic functions of English. It can facilitate international business and trade. In the sense that English serves as the predominant language for global commerce, finance, and diplomacy, enabling smooth negotiations, international transactions, and the collaboration among multinational corporations and organizations like the UN and NATO. The UN and NATO. Okay? So what I explained yesterday is now being put into a rather organized manner, okay? Into a rather organized manner. So when we say English is a global franca, is a lingua franca, a global lingua franca, it means that English has this intrinsic what? Intrinsic function, which other languages may miss, okay? Which other languages may miss. For example, when we say English is a global lingua franca, there's no way we can say that Kisukuma is also a global lingua franca, because Kisukuma doesn't have this intrinsic function, okay? So while English enjoys this global lingua franca status, other languages may not enjoy this status, okay? Because other languages cannot bring together different people from different linguistic backgrounds, okay? And we also say English as a global language has another intrinsic function, in the sense that it is a gateway. It is a gateway to education and knowledge. A gateway. A gateway. Do you know what I mean by a gateway? It is a channel. It is a channel which can be used to access education and knowledge, okay? It is a channel as a lingua franca. English as a global language, English is a channel through which people can have access to education and knowledge, okay? So say English is the primary language of instruction in many top universities, and the dominant language in academic research and publications. So we say proficiency in English is crucial for accessing a vast array of scholarly articles, online courses, and educational resources worldwide. Educational what? Resources worldwide. So that's another intrinsic function of what? Because as we're going to see later, those who oppose Kiswahili as a medium of instruction in the context of Tanzania try to put forward different intrinsic functions associated with English. Is that a concept? These are some of the intrinsic functions associated with English, which are so much supported by those who support the continuation of what? Of English. But as we are going to see later, those intrinsic factors, those intrinsic functions are all fallacies. Do you know a fallacy? Do you know a fallacy? Ask your neighbor, what's a fallacy? What's a fallacy? What's a fallacy? FA, write this. This is one of the words we're going to use from time to time in this course, okay? So you need to know it. Fallacy. F-A-L-L-A-C-Y. A fallacy. What's a fallacy? A fallacy is just something accepted for granted. Something accepted for granted, which may sometimes lack, not sometimes, which lacks any scientific backing, any scientific support. It is a belief which lacks any scientific what? Support. For example, one of the intrinsic functions of English is that English is a language for technology. Is a language for technology. English is a noble language. English is a noble language, a prestigious language. But like I said yesterday, any language can be upgraded. Any language can be upgraded to a certain level. Okay? What matters here is the political will. The political will in a given country. If the political establishment decides to upgrade a certain language, anything can be done. Because if you want to upgrade a language, there are two things, okay? First of all, you need to update. You need to upgrade materials, okay? For example, when we talk about turning English into a medium of instruction in our context, okay? We can decide, if we decide to upgrade Swahili as a medium of instruction in our context, we can decide to upgrade materials in Swahili. And upgrading can include changing what we have as materials in Swahili into English. What we have materials in English into Swahili. For example, if we teach using English at ordinary level, we can decide to change the materials which are in English into Swahili. If learners are learning chemistry in English, okay? So we have chemistry textbooks. At ordinary level. We can decide to turn these materials into Swahili. If we decide to change the medium of instruction into Swahili, okay? We can decide to have translation of materials. So we translate all textbooks. Textbooks written in English can be translated into Swahili. And when we have all textbooks translated into Swahili, then we can decide to do what we call corpus training. Corpus?
Training.
You know what I mean by corpus training? What do I mean? What is corpus training? What is corpus training? Huh? What's corpus training? What's corpus? What's corpus? What's it? Ask your neighbor. Corpus training, what's it? Corpus training. So corpus training, when we talk about language planning, can refer to the training of individuals, who are going to carry out the curriculum. Okay? The training of individuals who are going to carry out the curriculum. For example, we know now that teachers in Tanzania are used to teaching using what? Using English textbooks, okay? So we can decide to have corpus training. This means we can decide to train our teachers to cope with the new syllabus, where they are supposed to use Kiswahili as a medium of what? Instruction. So we can decide to train our teachers. You get the concept? Corpus training, okay? Corpus to training. But we can also discuss corpus planning in terms of how we are going to change the materials. For example, when you change the textbooks, when you change the text, that's also corpus training. That's also corpus planning. You change the textbooks, you translate and you change the terminologies, okay? You can even decide to have what you call lexicalization. We saw lexicalization, is it okay? You know coinage? What's coinage?
It's words which are from technology.
What's coinage? Ask your neighbor. What's coinage? What's coinage? What's coinage? Mm-hmm.
Which involves the discovery of words
Mm-hmm.
from science and technology.
Mm-hmm.
Example, computer,
Mm-hmm.
Excel,
For example, how do we call computer in Swahili?
tarakilishi.
That's what we call coinage. So we can come up with new terminologies. We can coin new terminologies to suit. Hey. We can coin new terminologies to suit the new language policy, okay? So when we decide to use Kiswahili as a medium of instruction, we also need to undergo corpus planning. Corpus planning and the corpus training. So by corpus planning, we mean changing the textbooks, adapting the textbooks to suit the new curriculum and the new language policy. That's what we call corpus planning. But when it comes to corpus training, now training the manpower, you know what I mean by the manpower, eh? The people who are going to carry out that new curriculum, okay? For example, we can involve stakeholders, okay? We can involve educational stakeholders, including teachers. You got a concept? Okay? Then, apart from that, intrinsic function. That was gateway to educational knowledge. But English also has another intrinsic function. So English as a global language is a medium of technology and digital communication. It's a medium of what? Technology and digital communication. What do you mean by this? What do you mean by this? English is a medium of technology and digital communication. You know, when I'm teaching in your classroom, that's a lecture, that's it. So a seminar is meant to reinforce what we saw, okay, in the lecture. So here I'm going beyond the lecture, okay? That's what is meant by a seminar. I'm going beyond the lecture. Yeah. I'm cementing now what I taught yesterday. Okay? So English is a medium of what? Technology and what do you mean by digital communication? What do you mean? Digital communication. So we said English is the primary language of what? Of the internet, okay? With approximately 60% of all websites in English. About 60% of all websites is in. Do you know a website? Hey, do you know a website? Do you have a website? Do you have a website? Do you have a website? Do you know that Luce website?
Yes.
How is that Luce website called? Karibu Luce. So you agree that we have a website, okay?
Yes.
Now I'm asking you a question. A very practical question. Do we have a website at Luce?
Yes.
Because we say English is a language which is used as a medium of technology and digital So when you talk about a website, what's a website, by the way? What's a website?
It's a worldwide.
So we have websites and we have social networks, okay? A website, a normal website can be slightly different from a social network, but on a website, people can also communicate, okay? Eh?
Yes.
On a normal website, people can also communicate. For example, when Duse wants to give some announcements, these announcements are given via the Duse website, okay? For example, when we have employment advertisements, okay? When we have some announcements about Duse, you can find those announcements on the Duse website, okay? Now, the question I'm asking, which language is used by the Duse website?
English.
Do we use Swahili on the Duse website?
No.
What's the language of the Duse website?
English.
Why English? Why not Swahili? We are in Tanzania. And Tanzania is our national language. Why can't we just have a website where we can use Kiswahili? Why do you use English?
Because English
Because English is
is
a medium of what?
communication.
Is a medium of technology and digital communication. And when we talk about digital communication, what do we mean by digital communication? Communication done using what?
Internet.
Digital ways, okay? So we have websites, we have social networks, okay? Can you mention any dominant social networks? WhatsApp, Instagram,
X.
TikTok. TikTok. You see? Do you know the origin of TikTok?
Yes.
Uh-huh. Where was TikTok born? Where was TikTok born? You said you know the origin of TikTok.
Okay.
Now tell me, where was TikTok born?
I think they have. It is called this. I don't know somewhat. They have used the repetition.
Hey, tell me in English. So originally, okay? Hey, look. TikTok was born in China. TikTok was born? Just search the web, you're going to see. TikTok was born in China. But now it is a world, it is a global social network. It's a global? And which language is used by TikTok now? English. And it is widespread in Europe and in the United States. TikTok is widespread. It is found everywhere in the world. Originally it was in Chinese, but now it is in English. Why do they use English? They use English because English is a global language. And where was Facebook born? Where was Facebook born? United States. Where was WhatsApp born? United States. Do you know that the owner of WhatsApp is the owner of Facebook also? The owner of Instagram also?
X.
So, hey, look.
Elon Musk.
So, now I just want to tell you that English is indeed a language of digital communication because many social networks,
Networks.
many dominant social networks, because there's no way you can mention dominant social networks by excluding Facebook. You can't exclude Facebook, you can't exclude Instagram, you can't exclude WhatsApp, you can't exclude TikTok when you talk about dominant social networks, okay? Now, all dominant social networks use English as a language of digital communication. That's why we say English is a language of digital communication. A language of digital? In this case, English is also a language which can enable you to have access to different pieces of information and innovation. And you know? Innovation, yes. You got a concept?
Yes.
Another intrinsic function of English. Another intrinsic function of what? English is that English enables what we call cultural exchange. Cultural exchange and the social integration. Cultural exchange and the social integration. And the social integration. Let me ask you a question. I say English can enable cultural exchange and social integration. What do I mean by social integration? What do I mean by social integration? Do you know what we call integrated function of a language? Integrated function of a language. Do you know it? We have different functions of a language, okay? We have instrumental function. We have instrumental. What do you mean by instrumental function of a language? Instrumental function of a language. Instrumental function of a language. Yes. Yes. You can include the job opportunities, okay? Go ahead. Explain.
Yeah, it is a kind of language where a person learns for either job opportunities.
Yeah. So when you learn a language because you want to secure a job, then we say that is instru. For example, I'm learning English because I want to apply for a certain post announced by the United Nations, okay? Let's say I want to apply for a job in UNICEF, and they have said that knowledge of English is an added advantage. So I can decide to learn English because I want to have that job in this international organization. So in this case, I'm talking about the instrumental function of a language, okay? But you can also have what you call integrated function of a language. For example, let's say you want to migrate to the United States, okay? You want to relocate to the United States. Let's say you are from Somalia. You're from Somalia. Or you are from Rwanda, okay? Or you are from Burundi. You want to relocate to the United States, okay? How are you going to survive in the United States if you don't know English? How are you going to survive in the United States if you don't know English? Or you want to migrate to France. How are you going to survive in France if you don't know French, okay? So sometimes a person can learn a language because of what we call a social integration. Social what? Integration. So I want to move to the United States. In order for me to be socially integrated in the United States society, I need to have knowledge of English, okay? So English knowledge is an added advantage, okay? Is an added advantage. It is a prerequisite, prerequisite. In order for me to be fully integrated in the United States, I need to know the language spoken in the United States. In this case, we are talking about social integration. Social what? So English is a language of social integration in the sense that people coming from other parts of the world moving to English-speaking countries must have knowledge of what? Of English in order for them to be socially integrated. Get a concept? That's why we say English is a social integration language, or is a language of social integration. And when we talk about the social integration and the cultural exchange can include things like literature, like art, music, music. Do you think you can understand the American culture by listening to American music?
Yes.
Can you understand American culture by listening to American music? The answer is yes. Because we say language and culture are inseparable. There's no way you can separate the two. So language and culture go together. And when we talk about language, we can include many things. Even music is embedded in language. So when a Tanzanian musician sings in Swahili, they are also conveying their culture. So when you listen to American music, American pop music, you're also learning American culture. That's why in other countries, American music is quite banned. It's quite if you go to North Korea, North Korea has banned American music. You can't hear 50 Cent in North Korea. You can't hear Mariah Carey in North Korea. You get what I'm saying? Because they've banned American music. They know that spreading somebody's music is also spreading that person's what? Culture. Do you understand this concept? That English is a language of cultural exchange and the social integration. Another thing, another intrinsic function of English is that English can enhance travel and tourism. Travel and tourism. Who can explain this?
I can try.
Yes.
And you see that most of tourists from different parts of the world, they came to different countries like Tanzania as a tourist for tourist attraction. The only language that they use is English so that they can facilitate communication.
Yeah, so when you go to airports, airports, hotels, okay, restaurants, restaurants, and if you want any tourist information, you need to have access to what? To English. If you don't know English, you can't work in the tourist industry. You can't work in the so-called hospitality industry. Do you know anything about the hospitality industry? Industry. Right. Hospitality industry. What is it? Hospitality industry. What's that? Ask your neighbor. What is hospitality industry? I'm not talking about hospitals. What do you mean by hospitality industry? In simple words, in simple English.
For example, if the tourists have come to the tourist attraction, and if you as a
Yes.
if you as a tour guide and you don't know English, it will become difficult for you to take care for that tourist.
What I'm asking is, just tell me, what do we mean by hospitality industry in general? What do you mean by hospitality industry in simple terms? Hospitality? If I say my daughter works with the hospitality industry, what do we mean? For example, if you work in a hotel, in a hotel, a guest, a lodge. If you work in the food industry, all that makes part of the hospitality industry. Yeah. So the hospitality industry also needs English what? English knowledge. Let's say you are working in a 5-star hotel. In a 5-star hotel. What's a 5-star hotel? High-class hotel. What can we mention here in Dar es Salaam, for example, when you talk about a 5-star hotel? Serena? So we have 5-star hotels, okay? So in a 5-star hotel, there's no way you can work in a 5-star hotel if you don't have any knowledge of what? Of English. So in order for you to work in a 5-star hotel, you need to have knowledge of English. So the hospitality industry needs knowledge of what? Of English. Okay? Also tourism, okay? You can't be a tour guide. A tour,
Yeah.
if you, no, not a tour guide. A tour guide, okay? You can't be a tour guide if you don't have a knowledge of what?
English.
Of English. So we are talking about tourism, okay? Then another intrinsic function of English is that it can provide you with what we call career opportunities. Career what?
Opportunity.
Career opportunities. What do you mean by this? We mentioned yesterday, okay? We're just trying to cement what we said yesterday, okay? We are not cementing what we said yesterday. Can you talk something about providing career opportunities? Yes?
For instance, translators,
Mhm.
interpreters,
Mm-hmm.
English enable people
Mm-hmm.
to have knowledge on and get employment
Mhm.
opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Also tour guiders,
Mm-hmm.
hotel managers,
Mm-hmm.
and the others. So I think careers such as those would obtain them through knowledge of English language as a
Mhm.
language.
Mm-hmm. Any other person? In addition?
Also, another opportunity that if you don't have any knowledge about English, it's quite difficult for you to be employed in different international organizations
Mm-hmm.
like UNICEF,
Mhm.
WHO.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. You think that the knowledge of English is very important
Mm-hmm.
for a person to have it so that he or she can work in different parts of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, so actually, let's clap our hands for our presenter, okay? So it was a good presentation, okay? I was simply trying to add something to what you presented, okay? I was trying to add something. So what was your question? What was your question? Can you remind us? Can you remind us?
Definition, yes. The definition of language.
Definition. Actually, it is definition, is it? You know why I'm saying that? Because you are linguists, okay?
Yes.
And you are masters students, okay? So I want you to also improve your. I also want you to improve your what? Your English, okay? So actually, we say define when it is a verb, define. But when it is a noun, it is definition, not definition. From today on, what? Don't say definition, but definition. But you say define, eh? But you say
Define.
definition.
Definition.
Definition, not definition, definition. But when it is a verb,
Define.
Okay.
The definition.
The definition, The definition.
of global language according to Crystal depends on various factors.
Now, what are the factors? Summarize the factors.
Economic factor.
Just summarize. In simple words, summarize. The first factor.
Economic.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, economic. The factors in cultural factors,
Uh-huh.
factors
Uh-huh.
including political, economic,
Uh-huh.
education,
Mhm.
broadcasting, communication, the
Uh-huh.
press,
Uh-huh.
advertising.
So you can define English as a global language in terms of the intrinsic intrinsic functions. You can define English as a global language in terms of the intrinsic functions we have just looked at.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
So when you say English is a global language, what are the criteria? If you understand the criteria, there's no way you can understand the criteria if you don't know the intrinsic functions. That's all. That's all. Okay?